Hello, welcome. In the previous video I showed you how to define project and how to distinguish it from business as usual. Today I will show you another very basic, however very important concept in project management, which is project triangle. I will present not only theory and mechanics of project triangle, but I will show you also how to apply it based on real-life examples. I am Dr. Project and you are watching Smart Projects, Smart Skills. Okay, project triangle, sometimes also called project management triangle. You can come across different variations of this concept, but in fact it doesn't really matter because these differences you can come across are really small and basic concept always stays the same. So now let's take a look visualization I have prepared for you. Okay, so let's take a look now at our project triangle. So every side of the triangle is another constraint. So we have a budget, we have duration, and of course we have scope. And now what are possible scenarios here? So if we take assumption that we have a given budget and scope was increased, then in order to deliver this project you need to increase duration. Another possibility, with given timeline, if scope was increased, in order to deliver this project you need to increase your budget. Now the third option, which would be relationship and trade-off between budget and time, is not very straightforward and it's not always working well, but I will come back to that later. Now let's add quality to the mix. So we have our three constraints, and if we would like to think about quality, it can be presented as area of this triangle. So here inside we would have quality. And now, what are possible scenarios of quality? For instance, if we reduce duration of the project and would like to stay with the same scope, quality, we should assume quality would be reduced. If we will lower the budget of the project and will stay with the same scope, then also we will get lower quality. And another option, if the scope is given and we would like to increase quality, then we should assume that budget and durations are to be increased. So we would like to present it somehow like this. Okay? As I mentioned earlier, trade-off between time and project cost is not always straightforward. Example, you can, for instance, use so-called schedule compression techniques in order to shorten project duration and still deliver the same scope. And I think I will present that in the next video soon, this so-called schedule compression techniques, because these are really very smart skills and you can use them not only in project management but also in your private life. So schedule compression can really work well, but only in a certain phases of the project. Let's take a look on a few examples. Let's consider development phase. You can hire more developers to deliver code quicker, and it should work fine. Also, testing phase of the project. You can hire more testers to perform application tests quicker. It should also work fine. Now on the opposite, let's think about planning phase of the project. Here it can be very difficult to compress the schedule, as business analyst needs to meet with the customers, gather all their requirements, consider all the scenarios and put that together. So in this phase of the project, hiring more analysts potentially only would increase chaos and issues with communication, and achieving any schedule compression here would be very hard. There is also another situation where trade-off between time and budget is not working well, and I will focus on that a bit later in this video. Okay, how project manager can use knowledge about project triangle in practice? Well, project triangle, as I'm trying to show in this video, is a very powerful tool and can be used in many ways. However, my first advice from experienced project manager would be you need to consider a very important aspect. Theory of project triangle tells you that all these three constraints are equally important, so that you as a project manager need to balance out budget, time and scope in order to deliver project on time, within the cost which was estimated, and exactly the product or service which was planned. However, my advice from experience is that in practice, all three main project constraints are equally important, but they are not equally important in every project. And what do I mean by that? I mean that for every project, we have some priority within these constraints. Let me show you some examples. Let's imagine you are running a project to launch new products to the market. And let's imagine this is a very competitive market. So the company you work for would like to be first on that market with launching this product before competition does. Therefore, you will need to focus on the deadline. It would be definitely your first priority. What would be the second? Okay, it depends. It may be a cost or maybe scope, functionalities, potential functionalities, characteristics of that project or that product. Meaning, if project will be running, for instance, 3 weeks behind schedule, are you going to cut on scope or are you going to increase cost in order to deliver on time? Okay, this would be still the choice, but under second priority, I think. Okay, different example. You hired construction company to build your house. Project is delayed. Probably then your priority number one would be to have everything built as it should be. So probably you wouldn't like to lower scope, cut on scope or lower the quality. Because both of them, scope and quality, and to do everything according to the project would be first priority. So now the question would be, what is second priority? And also in this example, you will have two options. You can pay more to this construction company so they can work longer hours and finish on time. Or if you prefer them to work a few weeks longer, and then you have option to stay within your original budget. Okay, and my second advice related to project triangle trade-off between constraints is that it only works well if the project is in a good health. And it is very important to take into consideration. So let's imagine project which is not having any good probability of succeeding. Project which has some critical issue which cannot be resolved with reasonable amount of time or with reasonable cost. So in such situation, trading money for time doesn't really work, because you will extend duration of such project and you will need to pay for resources every month, human resources, any other type of resources you are using for such project. So you are spending budget, you are buying more time, but you're not getting any closer to delivering the scope of this project. So it is very important to consider, and sometimes this kind of decisions can be very hard to make, but in this such of cases, it's really important to consider calling that a failure and closing the project, or reshaping the project from the scratch and maybe starting that from the very beginning. And keeping that in mind, we can come back to our previously mentioned example about company which would like to launch product to the market, which is a very competitive market. So they would like to launch this product as the first company given product on this market. So if, for instance, their competitor launched the same project earlier, and in fact it's very difficult to keep business case for our project, for our company after this happened, in this example maybe this company needs to reconsider, maybe adding more money to extending duration and paying for resources. If the business case is not there, maybe it would be not a good trade-off. So maybe it would be better, for instance, to maybe change it to a different project, maybe by adding some additional features to this project and launching that later, but with new features, which could be called a new project, or new product with new project. This kind of solutions potentially needs to be considered. My name is Peter. I am professional project manager with PMP certification and 20 plus years of experience. In my professional career, I was running global projects with multinational teams. In this channel, I would like to share with you my whole experience, and I think it will help you in your personal development, not only as a project manager, because in this channel I would be also teaching you a lot of useful soft skills which can be used by everyone in their daily lives. I am Dr. Project, and you watched Smart Projects, Smart Skills. Thank you. Goodbye and good luck.